Test. There we go. Test 1, 2, 3.
All right, it is 7 o'clock, so we will call this meeting back to order of the Madison County School Board. And we have a couple of items we need to close. The certification statement for our closed session. Would somebody read that for us?
Whereas the Madison County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, therefore be it resolved that the Madison County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
All right, we have a motion, and can I get a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Patterson, will you call roll, please?
Mrs. Allen,
I certify.
Mr. Marks,
I certify.
Mr. Sheets,
I certify.
Mr. Wingate,
I certify.
and Mrs. Collier.
I certify. All right, the next item on our agenda is the pledge. If we can all stand. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And you all can join us in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, we have the consent agenda that includes February 13th, 2023 school board meeting minutes, February 25th, 2023 school board meeting minutes, March 23rd operating expenses, the second batch of operating expenses, Fund 2 expenses, Fund 5 expenses. I did. Thank you. I'm messing up, sorry. I skipped something. We have to approve the personnel matters first. So I will entertain a motion to approve the personnel matters and the addendum for March the 13th.
I move that we approve the personnel matters and addendum for March 13th, 2023, to include appointments, retirements, resignations, substitute appointments, and coaching stipends as presented.
We have a motion, need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, personnel matters have been approved. Now we're going to approve the consent agenda. Thank you, Mr. Wingate. I will entertain a motion to approve the March 13th, 2023 consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right. Now we get to do the fun stuff, which is the recognitions and presentations. So, Ms. Graham?
The first thing we'll do tonight is Mr. Coiner is going to come forward and present our employees of the month. We're recognizing 2 employees this month.
Good evening.
Pleasure tonight to have the opportunity to honor Virginia Sisk and Shelley Ryder as the MCPS Employees of the Month for March 2023. Virginia and Shelley work together as a team to provide support for our second grade teachers, as well as invaluable guidance and direction for our second grade students. We're absolutely blessed to have these talented ladies as a part of our MPS family, and those blessings are reaped by children whose lives they touch every day. They work very closely with two individual teachers, beginning with Mrs. Oots, and Mrs. Oots had the following to say about Virginia. Virginia Sisk is my right-hand person in my classroom. She is always ready to do whatever is asked of her with a happy heart. She loves and cares for my little mountaineers like they were her very own. Virginia kindly demands the highest behavioral standard with all students in my classroom, as well as those she supervises during that most loved job of all assistants, lunch duty. Virginia has also used her own money to meet the needs of a child and does not expect anything in return. What I admire about her is her ability to see the little things that affect the learning of all my students. She quickly notices if a student is sick, sad, upset, or just needs a hug. Knowing that Virginia has received this recognition makes me so proud of her. I am so happy for her tonight as she is March's Employee of the Month. She truly deserves it. And also a few comments from the children. Lucas would like you to know that she helps me do my math. Bryce, Isaiah, and Walter say that she is nice to me. Caroline says she cares about us. Madison and Tommy say she is funny. Adeline says she helps me learn. Lydia says that I like that she loves us so much.
Aw.
Shelby said she gives us treats for doing good stuff. Dennis and Liam say she is kind to me. Parker, simply she is the best. And Raylan, she takes good care of us.
Aw.
Ms. Mack, in speaking of Shelley Ryder, says that Shelley is such an important part of our classroom family. She always has a great attitude and really cares about the students. I am always amazed that she knows so many details, not just about our students in the classroom, but all the students in second grade. For example, the other day, a lost glove was turned in at recess, and she even knew who owned the glove. She loves being at school. She is hardly ever absent, and loves the relationships she forms with the students and her coworkers. She helps me keep things running smoothly, either in groups or with prep work. Sometimes I don't even have to say anything. I leave something sitting on the table, and she picks it up and does it. She steps up when needed anywhere in the school, and always does it with a good attitude, even when she pretends to hide from the principal first. I'm glad she's pretending. She's not just an amazing coworker, but I am honored to call her my friend as well. Our class would not be complete without her. And some comments from the children. Gunnar says that she is nice and she helps us all the time. Leanna says that she helps us do our work and she is the best ever. Camden says she walks with us at recess. She is the best. Wyatt says she draws great. Sebastian says she helps cut stuff. And Carter says she is a great drawer. She is the greatest. And Jackson says that she is nice and good. She is a good helper. And the most important part, she is pretty. Thank you so much, Virginia and Shelley, for all you do to make MPS a great school and for your dedication to ensuring the very best for our children. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you for all you do for our children. All right, Senior of the Month.
All right, as Ms. Wenham comes forward, we'll just remind everyone of the Senior of the Month program. It's given to a graduating senior, one each month. to recognize their strong academics, their extracurricular activities, and their service to others. They will be honored tonight, and they'll also be honored at a banquet on Monday, March 1st at 6 p.m. We have a date now. And that night, not only will they be honored again, but they'll have the opportunity to honor an educator that has had an impact in their time here at Madison County Public Schools. So, Ms. Wyndham?
Okay, so we have a special, well, first, a special presentation because we have 2 seniors of the month, but we're going to start with Savion, who is February. And I have some special students, so we are showing that we are, in Madison County Public Schools, we're not a school system. We are a community, and I really do feel like this is what shows that. So I have my biggest Mountaineer being celebrated by my little Mountaineers. So first, I'm going to introduce Mr. Lincoln Rose, and he's going to tell you a little bit about why Savion makes him feel so special. Got it? You can talk.
He gives me hugs on the butt.
And the 2 girls joining me, they don't want to speak right now, but the 2 girls joining me are Miss Dorothy Banks. Can you wave, Dorothy? And Miss Piper Wilson. And these 3 students get to have Savion in their life more than I do. So 90 minutes for every day this entire year, they have gotten to be with Savion. So I'm going to ask Mr. Savion Turner to come to the front while I read about him.
Look.
So I would like to thank Ms. Dickey, who is the service learning teacher with Savion, who's helped me coordinate this, and I really appreciate it. All right. If you are ever in need of someone to bring a smile across your face through genuine kindness and love, then MCHS has a solution for you. And this solution is called Mr. Savion Turner. Savion is being recognized as February Senior of the Month. He could not make it last month because he's on our boys basketball team, who you know we're competing, went to the states and won regionals. But Savion is being recognized as February Senior of the Month because of his unending school spirit, always looking out for others, serving as a role model for his peers, and being an added asset to Madison Primary School's kindergarten program as he enrolled in service learning for the entire school year to serve in Mrs. Dickey's kindergarten class. Mrs. Dickey shared that Savion's contributions to her classroom are endless. She states, "To my students, Mr. Savion is a real-life superhero. He encourages each student to be their best and never give up. Savion is the most amazing example of perseverance. He welcomes my students with high fives and positive energy. No matter what the task he gives it his all. Playing the puppeteer of the beloved Leo the Lion, dressing up as Magic E to help teach about long vowel patterns, or freestyling letter sounds in his ABCs. We love Mr. Savion, and he makes learning fun. No pressure, but he would make a great kindergarten teacher." Mrs. Zanella, our service learning teacher, used one of this school year's first Inspirograms to recognize Savion. This recognition and incentive program is a way for students to be recognized for going above and beyond in service to others or to the school's community. Savion was recognized for taking additional time to console and solve the problems of an upset kindergarten student without being asked or requested to do so. Savion is a positive change agent, and this is evidenced by his contributions to every athletic team he is a member of, especially this year in varsity football and varsity basketball. Savion participates with a competitive spirit, yet he excels with sportsmanship and being a loyal teammate. After high school, Savion plans to attend college and major in a field that allows him to be involved with athletics. Thank you, Savion, and congratulations. You guys want to get the picture with us? No. Come on. Come on, Dorothy, sweet little thing. Hey, look up and smile really big.
Congratulations, Savion. Oh, more pictures. Oh, let them in. The little ones want in.
Mr. Turner, just remember, a great way to stay involved with athletics is to come back and teach, so then you can coach multiple sports. You're already making an impact. Come on back to us.
All right.
Savion, I wanted to say to you as well, I've watched you on the basketball court, and I've watched you on the court with the Medford games in the last couple of weeks. You are the most positive person I have ever seen with everybody that comes in contact with you. I walk in, and a lot of times when students get older, they don't speak to you anymore, and you always, always say hello. So it just makes my day.
So our second senior of the month for March is Miss Mackenzie Strong, and I'll ask her to join me up here. One of the greatest parts of being a high school principal is witnessing children enter ninth grade and gradually develop into the beginning years of adulthood. All students take different paths and find their own interests along the way. However, some students are able to find a passion, and when this happens, it's pure joy watching them grow and excel. Fortunately, this has been my experience as Mackenzie Strong's high school principal. Mackenzie has been a consistent leader and a reformer for our color guard and winter guard teams at Madison County High School, and she has brought much positivity, excitement, and excellence to these award-winning teams who most recently won third place this weekend in Class 3A at Sharando High School. Mackenzie didn't enter high school foreseeing this to be her passion, but she took advantage of the opportunity, which allowed her to uncover a passion for self-expression, guard, and the marching band. Mackenzie plans to pursue these activities at college next year. She has been accepted at several schools, including the University of Virginia, Mary Washington, Christopher Newport, and Bridgewater, and is currently weighing all of her options before deciding where to call home for the next 4 years. Mackenzie serves as co-captain on the MCHS Color Guard and Winter Guard teams. She is a Beta Club co-president and Triumph's vice president. Most admirable to me is Mackenzie leaves school each day at 3 p.m. and she goes straight to work at the Madison Early Learning Center Monday through Friday, where she is the co-teacher in the school-age classroom and works until 5:30 p.m. Mackenzie, it is my hope that you take all of your talent, work ethic, and love for children towards a career in education. There's something ironic about these seniors of the month. Not only does it naturally fit within your family tree, as Ms. Strong is her mother, who is a teacher here at the high school and was actually my history teacher when I was in high school. So poor thing, she gets me twice to deal with. But, I really do hope you consider a career in education. Not only does it naturally fit within your family tree, but any student would be lucky to have you as their biggest fan. We are so proud of you at MCHS and appreciate your positive attitude, work ethic, and overall care and compassion for your classmates that you show on a daily basis. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Mackenzie. And Mackenzie, I just want to tell you one thing. I started my career in education 30-some years ago at the Madison Learning Center as a preschool teacher. So keep it up. And come back to us. All right, one more recognition. The kindergarten group at Madison Primary School.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Angela Lamb, and I teach kindergarten with my awesome team back there.
Come on.
Jeanette would not come up.
Michaels really wanted to speak.
Jeanette would
Come
not
on.
come up. Jeanette would not come up.
I think so. Thank
So
you.
we are here tonight to talk about our kindergarten project-based learning for our vegetable and flower raised garden beds.
Woohoo.
I've included, I've included the science standards that are covered, but we also incorporate literacy skills as well through our journaling activities. I'm not going to read those to you. It's Living Systems and Processes K6, K7, and K10. The kindergarten gardens have been part of a collaboration between community organizations and the school system from the start. The gardens were built as part of an Eagle Scout project many years ago. Several years ago, we received a grant from the Madison Education Foundation to purchase watering cans, trowels, and soil. This year, Sherry Scherer, and I hope I've done her name justice, and the Madison Gardeners worked with our local co-op to secure the purchase of Panorama Pay Dirt compost. Thanks to the co-op, the compost was able to be delivered and purchased at a discounted price. The Master Gardeners covered the cost of 60 bags of compost, and this compost was added to the kindergarten raised garden beds this fall. On February 21st, the Master Gardener volunteers came to the primary school to work with students on planting seeds, weeding, and aerating the raised beds to prepare them for planting. Mrs. Scherer takes the seeds that the students plant at home with her to make sure they have the right conditions to get started. And then at this bottom picture, she also shares pictures with us throughout the growing process so that we can share them with our students. And some of the students that were here tonight planted those seeds. In March, every kindergarten student works with the Master Gardeners of Madison County to plant vegetables that will later be harvested for our annual salad/ranch party. Some of the plants are the ones that the students started from seeds earlier in the year. And the next one is a picture of my students from last year planting the onion sets. Students also plant flowers like marigolds, sunflowers, and zinnias. Students learned that these flowers are planted to attract pollinators to the vegetable gardens. And then we also use those flowers in the fall when we do one of our color days for yellow, the sunflowers. Kindergarten classes keep the gardens watered and weeded. And then in May, the Master Gardeners return to work with each class to harvest vegetables from their gardens. The vegetables from our gardens are used to have our annual salad party. If needed, the Master Gardeners supplement some of the vegetables from their own gardens. And then that's just a picture of our gardens that have really grown. Some of the plants continue to grow throughout the spring and summer. The Master Gardeners continue to care for the gardens when school is not in session. Students also enjoy observing the gardens when their families come to play at the playground in the summer. We really enjoy this hands-on project. We are very appreciative to the Master Gardeners for all of their support. We enjoy working with this community organization to make this happen for our students, and we look forward to continuing this opportunity for our students for many years to come. Any questions?
That is awesome. Do you guys have any questions? Board members?
I don't. I just want to compliment you on the presentation. Very pretty, unlike the budget numbers. Putting out here, it's like, look, sunflowers. So, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to say just the that kind of partnership is awesome. You know, so it's good for everybody on multiple levels, for the schools, for the folks who are involved, and for children to see that. And so that can't happen without good leadership that y'all are doing in the coordination and organizing and all those things and teaching those children those lessons. So thank you and good work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Kudos to the Master Gardeners as well, because they put a lot of effort into this, and we so appreciate their help as well. And we're glad we could provide kindergartners and flowers.
Yay. That's an awesome story. Great work. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is public comment. And we welcome and encourage public and staff comments. Anyone who wishes to address the board must state their name and the area they reside in and limit their comments to 3 minutes. There is a time on the screen so you can pace yourself. This is a time for comments only. Board members and executive staff will not respond to public comments. If you have specific questions, please submit them to the board in writing, and they will be given to the appropriate person to answer in a timely manner. Would anybody like to address the board? Please come to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Lisa Davis from Locust Dale. I've stood up here starting in last September requesting the possibility of having a junior ROTC program here. I spent several hours in the Culpeper High School learning about their Marine program, and if not mistaken, one of the board members contacted the Orange County High School about their Army program. I sent my findings, forwarded, and have followed up on several occasions. I will ask again this board to query the community, parents, and students to see if there is any interest at this via a survey or whatever you deem. A junior ROTC program provides such a profound stepping stones for students to develop their capacity for good citizenship, leadership, character building, and service to the community, let alone a variety of scholarships. Also, I first approached this school board about a year ago with a proposal for a reality fair for high school. The purpose was to teach students how to manage money and the reality of what living on monthly cost entail. As an example, a student is given a profession, gross and net income broken to a monthly income, and family size to include any pets. Stations for a particular necessity, such as housing, groceries, or utilities, are set up with volunteers to help students maneuver through the options of monthly cost. It should be an eye-opener to students on the reality of what the costs are needed to live on, even if a second job is needed. The 11th grade will be doing this shortly. The buy-in from the school superintendent and school board was tremendous. This will happen later this month. Kathy Sinella and Cheryl Paramore were instrumental in making this happen. I must especially applaud Ms. Sinella as she took the idea and ran with it. We are fortunate to have someone that first has the experience with this type of activity and put in so many hours of work to make this happen. I also want to thank ahead all the volunteers as well. I hope we continue this next year and make it a permanent activity and have the results brief at the next school board meeting. And finally, for those listening and parents, there will be a Parents' Rights Forum on March 23rd at 6:30 at the Silk Mill in the town of Orange. 4 distinguished panelists will be there. If you're interested, please look this up because you will need a reservation. And thank you all for what you do every month.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
I'm Mike Sharman from the Novum area of Madison County. And there was an article in the Madison Eagle, Schools, Counties Far Apart on Budget by Gracie Hartbook's editor. And I think she's editor and cub reporter and chief reporter and everything. But it's just such a good example of how checks and balances are so helpful with finite resources. I mean, everybody other than Congress has finite resources. And we have checks and balances. You internally will look to the school personnel and say, what do you need for your particular venture that you have? And then you'll try to juggle it internally to present that budget. Then you as a school board are looking at what you have as your priorities, the things that you want to be spending, and you present that. And then it goes to the county. I see the chairman here, and they talk it over, looking at what competing interests they have among the entire county, as well as the competing philosophies. Budget's not done. It looked like by looking at this article, the county is saying, so you want 1.8, so we'll give you the 0.8 and not the 1. Maybe that's the way it'll wind up, maybe not. But I think this is just such a great opportunity for us just to look at the value of checks and balances and the danger of centralized government. If it were only the staff and administration here saying, this is what we want, that wouldn't be good. They really wouldn't have to think through it and think of what are the main things that we want, what are the main priorities. If it was just the school board saying, well, we're the elected officials, this is what we want, that wouldn't be good either, because y'all do stand for reelection, et cetera. You come in, you might have a professional background in education, you may not. If it was just the county saying, well, you're just one little bit of it, in any event, centralized government works to the detriment of us all. This type of checks and balances, in which the media itself is one of those checks and balances, these public comments are one of the checks and balances. So I just appreciate the opportunity to come in here, every so often and voice my concern as being a check and balance with y'all, a little nudge here and there. But I just appreciate seeing in action the democracy, the representative democracy that we have, and how it is actually working well here in Madison County. Thank you, and also thank you to the County Board of Supervisors for what they do. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the board? All right, going once. Going twice. All right, we're going to move on. Instructional report. Miss Graham or Miss Jones?
Yeah, so, see if my mic is working. Is it working? Hello? Oh, it won't come any closer to me. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think I'm good. All right, so this evening, as we are heading into spring, we are also looking forward to summer. And so I want to share a little bit with everyone about our summer learning plans as we know them as of today. For primary, elementary, and the middle school, let me let him get caught up. There we go. We will be holding summer school for 1st through 8th grades from June 12th to June 29th, Monday through Thursday, from 8 to 3 p.m. each day. And this will be, our summer program with individualized instruction, using fun hands-on learning activities that are also remediating student skills at the same time. We will also be running Camp Unikite again this summer. And those sessions, there are 3 weeks. There are 2 elementary sessions, June 26th through 29th and July 17th through 20th. And then there's a middle school week, June 12th through 15th. And so that will continue this summer. We're happy to let everyone know that. We will also continue our Madison Primary School Jumpstart. Jumpstart is an opportunity for rising kindergartners to come in and spend a week in the building so that those first days of school aren't totally brand new. They get to experience the school environment, the bus, all of those things that are so new to them. And we're going to hold that July 24th through 27th from 8 to 12. We will continue this summer our Reach It Through Reading, lovingly also known as Ritter. And that will take place July 5th through 7th. And we have a group of staff members who fill vans and go out into the community and deliver books. Last summer it was to over 180 families. They do satellite stops as well as some door-to-door depending on situations. And that's a fantastic outreach from our school division to our community. Yeah. And then as far as high school, the high school will be offering full course or credit recovery courses. The course offerings will be from June 5th through August 4th throughout the summer. We have an Apex online platform for courses as well as Virtual Virginia that are offered. The school will be open on most Mondays and Tuesdays throughout June and July from 8 to 1, where students can come in and report to the lab, get some support, have the internet access. They check in and check out. And we also have a virtual learning coordinator who monitors course completion. So they oversee the students. They keep an eye on things. They're there to support throughout the summer. And so that will be our high school summer session. So those are our plans as of now. We'll be fine-tuning those throughout the spring and, just happy to be able to offer so much for our students. And I'll take any questions you might have.
Yes, ma'am. Just real quick, it's been almost 30 years since I was in school. When I was in school, summer schools, basically for students like myself that didn't quite meet the bar.
Right.
And so this is for them to get caught up so they can continue on the same grade path they're working, right?
It is, it is.
And that's why you see a charge for Virtual Virginia. That's just a student choice, someone that's looking to get ahead or to take an extra class if they're interested in that. A lot of those are higher level classes, and there is a charge for that because you can get them during the school year as well.
Is that extra? That's correct. Yes, that's true. Not necessarily, right.
How popular, like last year, I mean, I guess because COVID kind of messed things up. I mean, typically, I mean, what do you expect student-wise? Do you have a rough idea? I'm just curious about numbers. Not really.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to tell, maybe.
Like to take that one class in the summer because they can knock off a class in spring and help them work a little bit more. I don't know, like, I would say probably maybe 40 kids at the high school.
Decide what the topics are for a class like this.
APEX is, we have a course catalog, so we want kids taking classes that, you know, are within our course of studies, like if they're doing a credit recovery, they failed English 9, let's say they failed English 9 with a 60, right? That's 5 points and they could have passed. So that kid would be offered a recovery class where they would take online just the parts that they didn't do well in English 9 so we can give them a credit. A kid that maybe failed with a 20 would have to take, you know, the whole course. And then kids can pick. I mean, our students really like, some of them are courses of interest, but we only allow it to one because you don't want it to, like, it would be a lot for a kid to do 2 or 3 whole courses in the summer because the time's shorter. So it's a variety. They have a lot of offerings in those courses. They're virtual, they're put together. It's what our kids do. They do it during the regular school year as well. We have kids that are enrolled in these courses during the regular school year.
So other than the recovery part, the other classes, there's a catalog, and they can just choose what class they would like to take for Virtual Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you. The next agenda item is a report from our Public Information Officer.
Yes, Mr. Alaknowitz is here to let you know what he has completed since joining us and what projects he has in progress.
Good evening. Nice to meet you.
Good to see you guys here tonight. All right, once again, good evening, guys. It's good to be here with you tonight. After beginning my work here in October, I'm here tonight to present to you the successes and progress that's come out of my office for roughly the past 5 months, because again, that's when I got started here, was back in October. We'll go to the next slide here. So these are some of the highlights that I'm going to review here with you this evening. This is not a comprehensive list of everything I do here at MCPS, but these points cover some of the major topics for tonight's presentation. I direct 2 social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. I've also used my TV news background and will continue to use it for video creation. I'm your primary content manager on the district website. I'm also going to speak about media relations, successes we've seen there, and the role I play. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the recently launched communication surveys and the important role they're going to play for the future of our communications. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay. As I mentioned, I manage at MCPS K-12 on Facebook and Instagram, just those 2 pages. There are other pages like the athletics pages and MCHS info on Instagram, but I do not manage those. Just want to make that clarification point for you. And that practice actually is fairly in line with what other school PR folks do. One thing I noticed when I first came in was that we hadn't used Instagram in about a year. Given the established audience and potential growth there, that was revived. Since day one, I've implemented best practices for social media posting. That's timing, spacing, tagging, hashtagging. I'm going to kind of give you a breakdown on each one of these here. So timing. I look at sources like Sprout Social, Hootsuite. Those are popular social media content management platforms. And I look at the data they put out there in terms of, okay, what is the best timing to put out posts? When our audience is online? When are they engaging with things? More about engagement here in a little bit, but I look at those and I use that to sort of guide me for timing. Spacing, if we have 3 posts, pick a number that you want to put out there during a day. It's not good just to go ahead and force feed all of those to our folks at once. So I'll look at the spacing and make sure that they're spread across the day. Tagging, you're going to see an example of that in here in a minute, and I'm going to explain why that's important. And then hashtagging, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, that just basically helps us increase our visibility by grouping it with other posts of the same hashtag. I also use Associated Press style for a consistent professional standard. That's this book right here. It's not something you just pick up and know instantly. I was formally educated in college on AP style. I had quizzes and tests, and this is really the gold standard for professional writing, whether it's broadcast news, whether it's public relations, or other roles similar to mine. So I'm proud that I've really set that as our standard for social media. I'm also your primary content manager for consistency, and I make sure there's a system of checks in place before student photos and videos are posted. Something else I've done since day one is use a few tools to help craft the social media content plan as we really look toward the future. Excuse me, let me get my spot here. We're going to look at these 3 tools: Meta Business Suite, the communication survey data, and other school district social media feeds. So Meta Business Suite, let me explain what Meta is first. That's the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. And Meta Business Suite is their social media content management platform, similar to Hootsuite, similar to Sprout Social, but this is specifically as it relates to Facebook and Instagram. And so what I can do is I can go inside Meta Business Suite, and it's got a bunch of tools in there, but the most notable tool is probably the analytics, and that really helps us look at how is our posting doing? Is it reaching a wide audience? Are there people engaging with our posts? Again, more to say on that in a minute. So I'm able to use that tool as we look toward the future. Communication survey data, plenty to say on that here in a little bit, but there is an aspect of our communication surveys that does touch on social media, and so we can attack different questions like, are people liking what we're posting? What do they go to our social media for? What do they want to see more of? What do they want to see less of? So that's going to be a really essential tool as we look toward the future. I also monitor other school district social media feeds just to see what they're posting about, what the engagement is like there. And if we miss something that's of importance, all I got to do is jot it down and say, you know what, on the next school year, we're going to make sure that we get to that there. So I did want to mention the engagement aspect of things here. So engagement is a really important feedback tool. I'm going to speak about Facebook specifically because Instagram has only been going for a few months, as I mentioned earlier. It was dead for about a year, so there really isn't much to compare it against. But looking at the Facebook engagement rate, I can proudly say that engagement is up 5.1% since I took over in October. And that number is comparing the roughly 5 months I've been here to the roughly 5 months before. That's how Facebook does its comparison on that. So now we have the question of, well, what is the overall engagement looking like? And I couldn't easily get a figure for the time that I've been here. So I plugged in some numbers from roughly the past month and found that we're sitting, again, roughly for the past month at about 2.2% overall engagement on Facebook. Now you might say that seems low on the surface, but according to Adobe, anything around 1 to 2% is good. Hootsuite, Sprout Social, they'd say 1, 2, maybe 3%. So knowing that and seeing that overall we're up about 5.1%, which again would be about a fraction of that figure, I'm really happy to say that the statistical trends combined with really everything else on this slide show good progress on our social media so far. We'll go to the next slide. There we go. Now I'm going to show you some examples of posts that I create. Let me direct your attention to the post on the left first. So that's the one with the Medford game. So this is an example of an event that I had the pleasure of getting out to and taking photos of with our Nikon Z50 camera. That camera has more megapixels than a phone camera, which typically means that you get better quality out of it. But I more specifically want to direct your attention to the caption of that post, and even more specifically to the emojis in that post. Now hang on with me as I talk about this here. So I'm going to read the caption first as if the emojis weren't there. Okay? Our students had a great time during this week's Medford basketball game. Okay? Now I'm going to read it while acknowledging the presence of those emojis. Our students had a great time during this week's Medford basketball game. Because of the emojis, the tone changes from something more exciting and upbeat to something still exciting, but it's a little bit warmer. It's a little bit more endearing, and that's really how the power of emojis can influence a message, whether you have them there or whether you don't have them there. And if we look at specifically that there, you can see the blue heart and the white heart. So on the psychological side, having those there creates that really subtle connection between the reader and the post, and they can think of MCPS in that warm, endearing way. So these are all things that I really keep in mind as I go about my posting. On the right, you're going to see an example of a Facebook event post. I noticed we did a couple of these before, but I wanted to make this the standard because of the ability for users to get reminders about events they're interested in from Facebook. Sure, we could post a flyer and even pin the post with that flyer, but by having an event, as long as the user has their settings configured correctly, Facebook is going to send them a reminder. So we can still get the flyer in there, but we give folks an opportunity to get reminders from Facebook's. Events are also pinned at the top of our Facebook page. Here's a real shameless plug for our William Wetzel Middle School Art Empty Bowl Drive. So if you don't have plans tomorrow, go on ahead and get on out there at 4:30 tomorrow. Go to the next post, please. So here's a couple more examples. The one on the left is basically the same as the Medford post, but this time I have photos from a teacher. Sometimes I get photos from them or administrators and use those for postings. And on the right is really just a lot of the same of what I've been saying, but this one shows an example of tagging. In this example, it's the Virginia School Boards Association, and by tagging another organization's post, we actually build that relationship with them by saying to them, hey, we're going to tag you here so that our audience can get pushed to your content and your page. The organizations, again, can then share the post, they can like our post, they can take no action, but the important point is that we really build up that relationship with them by mentioning them directly online. And really, I'm always looking for those opportunities to tag other folks on our posts. Next slide, please. And then finally, a few months back, I created a library of 65 graphics for our delays, closings, and early releases. That project there helps ensure that we have a really nice, clean visual appearance for these sort of posts here, which are more eye-catching than just really a text-only post. And this example actually right here was just from this morning after our 2-hour delay. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned before, I do have a TV news background, and that background really lends itself to my professional knowledge of photography, and more notably, videography. That skill set was put to good use back in February during our CTE month video series, which I had a hand in all aspects really of that project, from coordinating the videos to interviewing, filming, editing, sharing online, and I'm really proud of the results that have come out of that, and just want to thank all the people that were involved in that project there. And those videos are not going to only just live on Facebook, they're also going to be included in a forthcoming CTE section on our high school's website. We are working on that as we speak and hope to get that out in time, hopefully for the next school year. Now, I'm going to explain videos are really great because they help us share more information in a format that's preferable to writing. Videos help connect people with visuals and sound, and they can serve as an effective tool to share information in that way. And we're really able to sell ourselves more effectively with videos, and we're looking to actually incorporate that into an upcoming recruiting video. Next slide, please. And now we're on to the website. I'm your primary content manager on all aspects of our site. Some teachers and staff do have their own individual Google sites, but I do not manage those. I just manage your main district homepage and all the individual school websites. One of the first things I did when I came in was get all the district calendar dates put in our site-wide calendar. That wasn't done quite yet when I'd come in, so that was a top priority to get done right away. We also have the Mountaineer Parent Portal up and running at this point. I'd like to thank our awesome technology department for the work they did to make this happen, as that process was already underway before I got started. In the Parent Portal, which is easily accessible really from any site, folks can access the syllabi for all of our courses. They can find links to the VDOE standards of learning, and there's other helpful links as well in there. I also use AP Style on the website with some exceptions, and I'm going to show you an example of that here in just a moment. Now, this next bullet point here hits on a lot of the progress I've made so far. There were a lot of outdated documents, content on the website that have gone through and I've removed at this point. There might be still some documents or pages that you notice seem, well, they might be out of date. And there's a chance that I'm just waiting for somebody to perhaps get me an updated copy of that document. So that's why those might still be there and you might notice those. I'm also actively building a collection of photos for our website, and once I have collected what I need, all of those are going to be posted at one time. It just makes more sense to do it that way. And all this to say really that the website is still a work in progress, but I am proud of the progress that has been made so far. Something I'm particularly proud of are the featured story sections I've created on individual school websites and the MCPS and the news section on the homepage. These are great ways to showcase the positive things happening in our schools and build a good relationship with our media partners. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, there is a new MCPS in the news section there on our homepage. You can see it on the right there. This helps really legitimize the positive things happening in our school system while developing that relationship with our media partners by sharing links to their stories on our website. And on the left, you can see our Mountaineer notes, and you can see a slight break into AP style with the school board meeting post by mentioning the current year. I'm not going to get deep into this, but typically with AP style, you don't say the current year. It is an official meeting notice, so that's why we put the year in there, just to be really specific. And you can actually compare that to the below posts that do not have the year in it. That's because with AP style, you typically only mention a year if it's a past year or future year, but just wanted to mention that for you guys. So go on to the next post. And here's an example of one of our school sites and the featured stories section there on the right. These are on all of our individual school sites, homepages. I want to say Madison Primary, I think, is the only one that doesn't have a featured stories section just yet. But these look just like an article that you'd see for a news outlet, and that's really by design. So we'll go to the next slide. So once you click on the article, it replicates a news article really in many ways. You have your headline at the top. You've got your media there, that picture, your date line, and the body of the story. And once you finish reading the article, you can click Return to Headlines at the top. Next slide, please. To be brought to the featured stories section on each of our websites. And really, that's an example of what the featured story sections look like. There aren't many stories right now, but as time goes on, that will eventually grow. Next slide, please. Okay, so next I want to speak about media relations. So as a former reporter, I cannot underscore enough how important it is to have a positive relationship with our media partners. One way I've sought to do this is by creating a press release template for pitching stories or for emergency situations. The appropriate staff in our school system do have access to that document. And here are a couple other ways I help with media relations. If we want to pitch a positive story, as I've done a couple times with success at this point, I can send out a professional release and, if appropriate, send photos so they can have a visual element to that story. One example of that would be when our very own Mr. Dave Matchin was given the 2022 Recognition in Science Education Award by VAST. And if appropriate, I also know the best way to coordinate with reporters for on-site photo and video opportunities, as well as interview opportunities, and then can share a link to their stories on our homepage, as I just mentioned. And for crisis relations, and I really hope I never actually have to put any of this into practice, I know best practices based on experience from the reporting side and the knowledge I've gained on this side. This includes coordinating with staff to ensure the prompt release of information, getting timely updates out, and that one is really particularly important during emergencies, as people really want information as soon as it can become available, and coordinating news conferences as appropriate, and monitoring the different forms of media to address rumors or incorrect information. Next slide, please. So finally, I'm going to wrap things up by speaking about the communication surveys that we've launched. I spent quite a bit of time putting these surveys together and getting them approved so we could get a really good look at the needs of our parents, community members, and staff as it relates to our communications. We have 2 surveys running through March 31st. One is for our families and community, and the other is for our staff. Although a lot of the questions really are the same in those surveys, the staff survey goes a little bit further by asking about internal communications, so that's why we have 2 different surveys running right now. And I'm not going to go through all these subjects right here, but there are quite a few questions, and that is by design, so we can get a really deep look and understanding of what's going well, what needs improvement, what we should keep doing, what needs to change, so on and so forth. So we really need this feedback from parents, community members, and staff so we know what we need to address in the future. And after the surveys close at the end of this month, we're going to take some time to review the data and adjust course from there. So I'm really hoping to use that data in conjunction with everything else I've presented to you here this evening to help craft a strategic communications plan for our district I don't currently have a date or a time set for completing that document, but this is a goal of mine. Basically, what that document would outline is our communications goals. It would outline how they're in line with the MCPS long-range plan, how they'll be achieved, how they'll be measured, so on and so forth. Again, there's no date or time for this, but that is really how all of this is tying together as I wrap up our presentation. And then I do want to give you an opportunity here. We'll go to the next slide. I do want to give you an opportunity here to ask any questions that you might have. If I cannot give you an answer at this point in time, I will be certain to follow up with you after tonight's presentation.
Go ahead. Any question?
Sure. Thank you. One of the big things that we kind of wanted to do when we first, I think this kind of new board formed, was to work on that kind of communication with the community, and the website is a big part of that, and it looks a whole lot better, so thank you for your work on it. Do you get much feedback? Have you got much feedback from people on, ways to make it better, from parents, from students? Have you gotten that yet, or is that sort of what that survey you're working on now is going to do?
Yeah, so a big chunk of that is going to come from the survey. I've heard a thing or two from people here or there on it, and we do have those surveys open right now, and we're going to see what people are saying. We're asking questions such as, can you easily find what you need on the website? What are you looking for on the website? So those questions will really help us as we look toward the future in terms of people's needs. So I haven't really heard too much. But at the end of this month, we're going to look through all that data and see exactly where we need to go on the website.
And I just have a comment. When we started, this kind of, I guess for Charlie and I came in at the same time, and one of the new things that with the board then we did was have a new priority that was to promote partnership between students, staff, families, and the community through communication, respect, trust, and transparency. And part of that, flowed out of that was hiring the position that you're in. And so I think it's a huge win. I mean, part of the big thing we want to do is really focus on parent engagement, and make available things like, we passed a new policy that said the teachers are required to put syllabus and the resources they're using, because we wanted parents, to know those things. And so, having you on board is a huge win in that way. And so, I know they're in the budget negotiation, there's some comments from the county leadership, but I will certainly continue to push hard for the importance of that sort of parental engagement that will help us to post those things, provide that information to parents. So, and I hope that parent, Mountaineer Parent Portal is a huge thing. As I have a 10th grade son, and I've gone in there and looked at a syllabus lots of times, and it's just a huge tool, I think. So thank you for doing that.
And I can't, of course, take the credit for the Mountaineer Parent Portal. I really have a very small role in that. Again, that is our technology department. They were all over that before I came in, so I got to give really a lot of the credit to those folks there.
I just wanted to, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, because one of the concerns I've always had is I find out after something has happened. And I appreciate the effort that you've put into making sure that we know what's coming up rather than what has happened. So thank you for that.
I just want to say thank you, too. I appreciate all of the positive videos and all the positive posts that you've made out there. I follow that quickly, and everything's out there in a timely manner. And so we know about it, and the community knows about it, and I think it's important. So I appreciate your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That was a lot of information.
It was a lot of information.
Do you have questions?
All right, the next section of our agenda is business information. We have some policy updates. Again, this is just for information. We will review this over the next month and ask any questions of any of these policies. This is policies from the VSBA, correct? Anything that we should pay special attention to, Ms. Graham?
The first 11 policies are from the VSBA for their updates for this month. Most of them are just like the legal reference updates and then like some grammatical changes they do. But the last two, they are the second to last, the JHCF, student wellness, that is a VSBA policy. However, our food services supervisor, Ms. Hill, just had her federal review, and so we have some updates for that policy. So that's through her work with the lady that came down.
Okay.
To work through that with her. And then the very last one, the GCBC-R, that's our regulation. So that is updating the federal holidays, the state and federal holidays from 12 to 13 for our 12-month employees. So
Okay.
those are the only two kind of outliers on that.
Anybody have any questions currently about those? That's a lot of reading over the next month.
Something fun to do.
So if any questions pop up, you guys can send those to Ms. Graham
That's fine.
and myself, and we can get the answers. And then next month, we will adopt if we choose to. And then the next item is the 2023 draft school board priorities. Again, this is just for information. At the moment, if anybody has any edits, updates, suggestions, conversation around these priorities, you can bring it up now, or if you have any in the future, let us know. Have any updates, questions?
I was just going to explain, I gave a couple of edits to Ms. Graham, and they're in here. I just wanted to explain what they were, just because they were a little bit, not very different in meaning, I don't think, but just added some things. I wanted to explain that so people could think about that and say yes or no. On the second one, I added something about learning for every single child, really emphasizing that every single child is kind of looked at as what they need and providing resources, what they need at the individual child level, every single child. So I added that, and then added the learning environment, how important the learning environment is, making it a stable, happy, free of ugly things, free of things that will keep a child from learning. And so just added that in there. Those are the only changes on number 2 that I had suggested. And one more change, I think. One more suggestion is small. Anna, do you remember what I can't remember what it was now. We did change. We changed the very add-on prior to the last priority. We added promoting strong character education and American citizenship. I think was the change that we talked about and recommended, and added the American citizenship thing to there. And that was citizenship was already in there in priority 1, but thought it molded better into priority 6, where we could focus on academic excellence in priority 1, and then we're working on providing strong character education and American citizenship training in the last priority. Those are the only changes that I had suggested.
Anybody else have any suggestions or questions, comments on the board priorities? Okay, if anything comes up over the month, let us know. Okay. We will vote on these at some point. I'm not sure whether it'll be next month or the following month, but we'll get them voted on. Karen, did you have something?
No, not at this point.
Okay. We are down to business approval. And our first thing to approve that we'll need a motion for is the calendar. Committee presented last month our 2023-2024 draft calendar. And that is up for approval this month, so we can go ahead and get it published and let families know and our staff know what their months look like in the year ahead. Anybody have any questions?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Madison County Public Schools 2023-2024 school calendar as presented.
We have a motion. We need a second.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. You have a calendar.
Thank you, we appreciate that. And
All
thank
right.
you, Jessica DeBoer and her committee for doing a
Yes.
great job in working with parents and
Very
teachers.
much so. Lots of input, lots of data to gather to put together that calendar. All right, and the next business approval item is the 2023-2024 Madison County Public Schools budget. Ms. Graham, would you like to share
Let's share.
some information?
Yes, please. Okay, if you will open the budget presentation, thank you. And go to the next slide. So this is a document provided to us when when Tina and I met with the Board of Supervisors on March 2nd, I believe, Thursday, March 2nd. It was specifically presented to us by Mr. Yao, Vice Chairman, but it kind of outlined for us the adjustments that the county were requesting for us to make to our budget. If you look at that top line, the school CIP request, which we provided to you last time, was $735,572. They proposed providing funding for that minus the $20,000 for the all-ed structural study. So that takes that number to $715,542. So if you look, I'm going to jump for a second to the bottom, revise, ask for the county. What they were proposing, they provide to us in our budget. You subtract the $800,414, that's what they're proposing to provide to us for our budget, but you first subtract out the $715,572, that's CIP. So for our operating budget, and you'll see this in a few minutes when Ms. Kropp goes over the budget, the revised budget, the line from the county will say $84,842.60. So then we're going to skip up a few lines to where you see skinny budget add back and anticipated increase in state funding the Senate budget versus the House budget. So skinny budget add back, that's $240,000 that the county is offering as a supplemental should that not happen. That is that calc tool error. And so far from the skinny budget, they're only at the moment making sure we're okay with FY23 that we're currently in. And we are okay with that because of sales tax. And then the anticipated increase in state funding, that's the $350,000, and that's what the county is proposing to need, if we need that later as a supplemental, if that doesn't happen from this state. So I wanted to point that out. I also wanted to point out what they shared with us in the meeting. They feel that we need to pass on 80% of the health insurance increase to our staff members. So that would be $224,000 going, our staff paying for their 80% of that 10% increase, staff members paying 80%. And we have provided for you, let's see here. If you want to look at the sheet, you know what, I don't think I uploaded that on the board docs, but we have some for audience if you need it. We provided for you the comparison. If the school board, it's not exactly 10%, it's a 9.9% increase in health insurance. So you can see on this chart, if we pick up the 9.9% increase compared to what the county is currently paying. So you can see there, if we pick up the 9.9 for like a family plan, that's the school board paying $1,444.20. The county is already contributing for their employees $1,446, so they're already paying more for their employees than we are. So we're still proposing that we absorb this so we can hopefully come more in line with the county rates since we're on the same plan. Any questions with that?
So I just want to make sure what I understand. So I'm probably going to restate what you just said. So for a family, on the $500 deductible plan, correct?
Correct.
The family's cost monthly,
Correct, monthly.
is $890.80.
Correct.
That's the family's cost.
That's the family's cost.
If we absorb the health insurance cost.
Right, that's with us absorbing.
If we don't absorb the health insurance cost. That goes up by 9.9%. Am I
That's
correct?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, and then it goes down from there. Obviously, $1,000 deductible plan. And it goes down just a few, not much, about $100 for a family. That is
Our rates are very high for family, yes.
incredibly expensive. Even an employee, just a single employee, is $129.20.
Correct.
Our employees pay for health insurance a month, just for one person.
Correct.
One single person. The county's employees, I just want to point this out. The county employees, it's the same community,
Same plan.
same
We're on the
plan,
plan together.
same government, pay $59 a month.
Yes.
So that's double what our employees pay.
More than, yes.
So if I were to make a statement about some of our lowest paid employees, no harm, some of our lowest paid employees, they're not bringing home much more than $890 a month, correct?
Correct.
So our bus drivers who are hourly employees, some of our part-time custodians, if they have health insurance, and I understand that most of our employees have health insurance,
It's about 75%.
75%. If we increase that, they would possibly have to write a check to us?
That is correct. I think that they even provided data for that at the Board of Supervisors meeting.
That's correct.
So our employees would have to write you a check to
Which-
be able to get health
horrible.
insurance?
Right, which, I don't know how you run that through payroll.
I just don't know how we can, it's impossible. I just don't know how we could make an employee pay to work.
Right. And provide for their family.
Okay,
So
I just wanted to clarify, I just wanted to make sure I
No, thank you,
understood.
thank you. So the budget revisions you'll see tonight does have us absorbing the full cost because we really want to see this get in line.
But that's cutting,
Right, we will have to make
we're
cuts
going to
if
make
that-
some cuts, several.
Correct.
Okay. Board, do you have any questions about the health insurance? I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Well, if I was a school employee, well, I guess I am a school employee. If I was a working every single day, 40 hours a week school employee, I would apply at the county
Right.
to try to get more pay and less insurance.
So going on down the list is the same coverage.
the
We're on the
same- I
same
just wanna
plan.
make sure
We're on
that
the
it-
same plan.
I'm not misstating anything.
Right. You're
Okay.
not. We're on the same plan. So the next item.
$1,000 a month.
Right,
That's
it
almost
is. It's-
$1,000
yeah, it's
a
hard to
month.
absorb.
Like, that's a house payment.
And then I think that's kind of, I think, drives us to think about, I mean, I don't know the rules or anything, but alternate plans and looking at different plans so that we're not charging our employees so much. And they got to be, competition is
That's true.
good.
Right, and we could go out to bid for
Would-
next year.
I was getting ready to ask you, just because I'm not a health insurance expert, but we go out to bid for, $2 million of computers, a couple counties over. Could we go out to bid and
We could. It's a little too
have
late
them
for this year,
compete
but-
against themselves?
Yes.
And see if we can get a cheaper rate for our employees and us?
Right, and that would have to happen going in, like during next school year, we would do it.
So
We're
it would
little late
affect
to it.
25, 26 school year's budget.
24, 25.
24, 25, sorry, I'm sorry. We would-
January, February
And it's
timeframe.
just like a RFP.
Right, when the
Right.
renewal comes out.
Yeah,
We should think about doing that.
yeah, I agree.
We could do it in, to answer your question, Ms. Allen, we could do it in conjunction with the county, but we could also have them quote us separately as well.
I would also, and it doesn't, I know you have, I appreciate everything you've done, and I don't want to ask you for any more right now. But when we do that, if we do that, I shouldn't say when, if we do that, I would be interested, just like we do a comparison for our teacher salary scale and our admin salary scale across the region, you know, the counties that touch us. I would be interested in seeing what the board contribution is to their health insurance as well, as a comparison.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, just regionally, we're all paying for the same houses, we're all paying for the same rent. Just a regional comparison around what other boards and other county governments are paying for their health insurance.
And a lot of the counties surrounding us are on local choice.
So I'd just be interested in that, just to see how other communities are doing it. That's a hard hit, like,
And I'd second Ms. Collier's thing, and just to go on record, I think we do owe their employees to absorb that 9%. I mean, inflation is super real. Every time I have 5 children, every time I go to Food Line, I mean, I know how real it is. So it's not just the insurance we're talking about. I mean, those employees, the bus drivers and teachers and custodians are also paying for the inflation in every other aspect of their life. So it's a significant thing. So I think the right thing is to, you know, what we've done is to absorb that cost if we have to, but to not pass that percent.
we
cost on.
absolutely cannot, I'm sorry, I thought you were done. We absolutely cannot ask somebody to pay to work. Like, I just can't.
No, we agree.
And I'll say as a teacher, there's no way in the world you're going to retain anything worth quality in a classroom if you're not taking care of teachers.
Exactly.
And for all the parents and for all the teachers that ask us, how are we going to recruit, how are we going to retain, there's absolutely no way we can do that with that. That's unfair in multiple ways, because a lot of times, and I don't know if anybody's driven by the primary school or Waverly Yao at 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night, and there's still classrooms with lights on, with teachers with their kids inside the
Yes.
classroom with them, instead of being a family at home. That's inexcusable.
Exactly. I agree.
And we can't ask teachers to clean their rooms.
No,
That is not going to happen either.
I agree. Beyond what they already do. And then Dr. Jones can even attest to the fact that when she's hiring people, they ask about the benefits package. And when you're not competitive in all areas, it's not just salary. People ask about the benefits package and to make their decisions, because salary is one thing, but if $1,000 is going toward your health insurance, where are you going to go?
Now, aside from traditional insurance too, there's a number of healthcare sharing entities out there that would, that statistically saved a lot of money. So I'd like to look that direction too.
Sure. All right, so the rest of this list provided by Mr. Yao addressed our after-school program, where we had on our sheet, the chart that we shared last time, the $100,000 we would need to kind of run a bare bones Mad Explorers program. That was not favored by the Board of Supervisor because it was previously funded by ESSER funds. The increase in summer school program also not favored because it was previously funded by ESSER funds. The SSO position, as you see on the handout provided to us, was not favored because we already have SROs. We do have SROs at 3 of our schools. Coach's salary increase was not favored because it was not needed.
No, you go.
You can, go ahead.
I've talked enough.
You can ask questions.
I'm getting a little passionate about
Which
this.
3 had the SROs?
That would be Waverly and the high school and the middle school. Our primary school does not have an SRO.
So the school that's furthest away from law enforcement has the least amount of protection.
Correct. Correct. There are times when the middle, they all try to go over and visit, but I think the middle school SRO goes the most.
And being in the educate, we have a rise in school violence currently, as far as fights, breakouts at all levels, not just high school.
Correct.
And security is not a priority. Would be the case that what appears.
Peering from the handout provided to us.
And so this SSO position, do I understand that the 23,000 is just our match to a grant?
Correct. It's a $50,000 grant, and so that is our match to it.
And so we
it's
either take
more
the
than
grant
50%.
and match it,
Correct.
or we lose the money?
Correct. Correct. Okay. We are unable to get the grant, though, unless it is signed off by county personnel.
So even if we found $23,000 somewhere, that would have to be signed off.
Correct. Any more questions about this sheet? Okay.
You know, on a side, I will say, as far as being a coach currently,
Mhm.
and a former head coach and a former assistant coach, I understand the coach's salaries issue, and that's not always an easy thing, but I would say personally, I would much rather have my kids in uniforms, my facilities up to date, the fields safe, the courts in good condition, rather than have my own personal pocket padded. And I know that's always a tough thing because you spend time away from family and it's hard, but I don't think I'd ever thought, to be honest, when I first got into teaching, I never thought I'd get a paycheck for coaching. And when I first did, it was like, now I was just glad I could pay for gas to spend time with kids after school. But that's a tough one, but kind of sees where that can make sense. I'd rather have facilities without, locker rooms where we don't have staph infections and whatnot.
I think we, go ahead. Go this.
As best I can remember, I think it's about 15 years.
It's been a while.
I think
Since
there's only
coaches
been
has had a
one increase since I've been here, I believe.
And that's kind of around the area as well. They really have not risen anywhere, to be honest. They used to go through step situations and other kind of like base contracts for most schools.
But we did, I mean, when I was the one who was pushing for this $27,000 increase, when I did that, we did a review of local coaches' stipends, and we were lower, consistently lower than our local partners. And of course, that's right, I mean, coaches don't coach to make money at the high school level, of course. But it's a way to say, hey, we appreciate the hours you're spending, and haven't had a stipend increase in 15 years or something. It seems a reasonable thing. So I understand there's, it's finite resources, and as Mr. Sharman said, it's a checks and balance, and that's a good thing. But I'll continue to push for that 27,000 in future years, because it's a long time to go without an increase when inflation is, massive inflation, and during that in 15 years. And so I think it's reasonable to there are a lot of things in there, but this one I'll continue to try to push because I think it's reasonable.
And in the future, again, it doesn't have to be a chart tomorrow. Tina's going to hate me. I would love to see the comparison of coaching stipends with other counties as well. And I know this is hard to measure, just because it would be probably a nightmare, but even if we could get a little bit of an hourly rate, like of how many hours a coach spends with their kids and based on their stipend.
Wow.
I know. I would love to know, though. That's a huge, I don't know how we'd measure it. It might take more money to measure it than it's really worth it. But even if a coach could say, during a season, I spend, 25 hours a week, that might be high. I have no idea. And the only thing I have to compare it to personally is how long it takes to train an animal. And that's a significant amount of time. So that's my only comparison. So I would love to be able to put that in perspective, if possible.
I think that's good. I think we could even survey our coaches and just ask them.
Right.
Like, I think that's the best way to get that data.
It could be
for you.
anecdotal data.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that would be the best.
I think that would be fine to see just, a football season takes me this many hours a week. I bet you they don't.
It's gonna be a
I bet you they don't
sad
make
number.
$5 an hour.
No, I think it's
Mr.
we're gonna be
Martz
in
could
pennies.
probably tell us that.
Yeah.
When Donald worked with me at Culpeper, we figured it out, it was roughly about 20 cents an hour.
I
20
believe that.
cents.
20 cents.
20 cents.
I said $5.
Literally.
I was way off.
Yeah. If we did $5 an hour, we wouldn't be able to afford it at all. Right, we would. That's true. That can be your new goal, Mr. Wingate. All right, so let's go. Are we
New goal.
finished with this slide now? Because now we're going to get into what are we going
Sorry.
to do about it. So we know what we're
Yep.
dealing with. What are we going to do about it?
What are we going to do about
So if we go to the next slide, that takes us to the skinny budget. And we are so grateful that the Department of Ed provided us information on the skinny budget on Friday afternoon at like 4 p.m., bless their hearts, with all day Sunday, yesterday. So, wow, yeah. So there, it came with a lovely spreadsheet that you really had to blow up pretty big to even get to your bottom line number. And that's what we have on the top. The spreadsheet said that, in the skinny budget, the reason why we're talking about that is that this is the latest information we have from the General Assembly regarding funding for next year. So in this beautiful spreadsheet that they provided, they have us for $12,014,108. So that is, they have this wonderful formula for ADM, and we never go off of that. They have, they have us down for 1641.6 students. So we took that number and we revised that to our guesstimate on what our funding would be for 1620 students, because we want to have, as balanced budget as possible. So that takes us to $11,940,000. So that is our new number that we are going off of currently in our budget that we are asking you to pass tonight for what we will receive from the state, because that is a conservative number. It is based on the most up-to-date information. So that's what we're going on for state funding. So in this skinny budget, they took no action on the 7% compensation supplement. In the skinny budget, it still mentions the raise at 5%, and it still includes that 1% retention bonus. So you're going to see that reflected in a few minutes in our new version of the budget. The reason why, because that's our most latest, I guess you could say, information. And then also, if you listen to the governor on CNN on Thursday night, if anyone had an opportunity to listen to his talk on education, he mentioned, when a teacher asked, what are you going to do about our raises? What are you going to pay us? He mentioned the 10% over the biennium and the 5% and the 5%. And he also released a press release like an hour before he went on CNN, which was his education priorities and all the good things he's done for education, and he mentioned the 10% again. So we feel more comfortable having that information to go back. Hopefully it'll be 7%. Maybe when they finish talking, it'll be 7%, and we can go back and do that. But we want to have, based on what we know now, the most accurate budget. So the other big thing, because we keep talking about the calc tool error, and I mentioned it a few minutes ago, the skinny budget only made sure that school divisions were okay right now. And they provided divisions a difference in their funding based on sales tax. If you weren't going to make it in sales tax, they took care of that for school divisions, so they would not be missing funding for this year. We were okay because of sales tax. It does nothing for that $240,000 that we thought was going to be in next year's budget. That part of the calc tool error has not been corrected, if it will be, and no one's making mention of it. So I think that's very important information to have as we go into our budget tonight. Correct, yeah, we're building a budget while they are, so it's a good question. So tonight, when we go over the budget again, we usually on this night, we don't read line by line. And we're not really going to read line by line, but she's going to skim over them for you just because of the changes. So what you're going to see, though, is you're going to see that we've eliminated 3 FTEs out of the teacher line. That is not eliminating any human that's in those. Those are going to be positions that we won't fill, or maybe transferring someone into a position that won't fill.
Through attrition.
Right, correct. Okay. So no one is
So nobody's getting rid of it?
Nope, I don't want anybody to think that. And we're hoping we can stay that way. That is our goal, is for people to not lose their employment over our budget. But we just feel like it's very important, because in order to keep people, we got to make some decisions, and we really feel like the health insurance is too much to pass on if we're going to maintain being competitive in the region. So that's one thing to notice. Okay. Let's see here. Which one do you want him to pull up first? If you will go to
The executive summary.
Yeah.
And they should be in, pretty much in order.
And I also want to say really fast while he's pulling that up, when you talk about hard decisions, why would we eliminate our after-school program in lieu of giving staff a raise? Because if you don't have people working during the day, you're not going to have an after-school program anyways. So that's one of the hard decisions you have to make. It looks harsh on paper, and you can ask Ms. Kropf. I was like, oh my gosh, we're eliminating after-school program for the adults. But no, like, we would not have the adults if we didn't make that hard decision. And hopefully we can figure something out. Maybe the volunteers will come through for us and we can do something for the kids. But we got to have quality employees first in our positions during the day, in our instructional day.
And our kids need to be taken care of at the same time.
Correct.
Like, it is a tough, tough decision.
Activities are up all over the county. Our youth sports teams are growing with leaps and bounds. Parks and Rec is brimming with
Yes.
stuff, the hockey leagues, basketball, you name it. It was forever getting through basketball season with youth. So it's not like, the kids are like, we're not interested in stuff. It's, things are there. We just,
Yeah. And we'll just have to find ways to partner with them more and more and send families in that direction.
Yeah, I think I think the volunteer thing, given the budget, is really, really important. I mean, I think I'm a conservative guy. I understand the desire from the low taxes and the challenges that the county has in that way and everything, but COVID was real. I mean, COVID happened. I mean, we overreacted to it, I think. We did a terrible thing for children by shutting down for so long. It was a disaster in a lot of ways in our reaction to COVID. The children paid for that. It wasn't, that wasn't a county thing. That was a national bad decision that we did. But, that real, learning loss is real. And so I guess I'm asking, I think we have to figure out, we got to do something about that. I mean, it had a consequence, that overreaction that we did. And so we've got to figure out a way to do things like after school. And if there's no money for it, there's no money for it. We got to figure out the volunteers and things like that, because you can't just ignore it. I mean, it happened almost 2 years of disastrous lack of learning, because teachers couldn't be with the children, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think we have to really grapple with the fact that it's not imaginary. I mean, we messed up, I think, in my opinion, in the way we reacted to the COVID thing, and we have to figure out now how to get back from that.
with the Explorer program, especially being so popular after school the way it was, is there any opportunity possibly for like community sponsorship to come through for individual Explorer programs, which I know that kind of would shortchange some versus the others if somebody has an interest in doing one versus the other, or maybe even like a small nominal fee to kind of like as like a tuition piece to go with that to help supplement it to keep it. Because I know my daughter did it once and she thought it was great, but then she went to other things. But I've seen some of her friends have great success, and they talk about what a wonderful thing it is for them. Just maybe a way to supplement that, since it's not taken care of, just a thought.
Right, I think that's a good idea, just kind of pockets of opportunities, maybe not the whole big calendar we offer, but if we could just run like things sponsored by like groups
Right.
coming in and helping us, yeah. I think it's definitely something to look into.
Or the other, I mean, I'm sure you guys scope for grants all over the place, but the other possibility is maybe a possible grant or a local grant. You know, maybe folks can support that through some sort of local initiative or something. I don't know. I think it's a great program, and it was, you know, it supported families and kids, and just losing that is going to be tough.
I agree.
You know, whether it's volunteers or, you know, we have I don't know, somebody like a church sponsor, you know, a day a month or whatever, and I don't know how it would work, but I don't know. Those are just thinking outside the box.
I even think about looking at Mr. Marks, because his daughter participated in one of the after-school plays, and we have the primary school here. That it would be a good place to start. Like if we could find someone to sponsor that after-school play, to pay our staff, to help pay for some of the props. We've already purchased the play, so just having someone do that.
And I think, I mean, maybe this is just for the public to think about, maybe in the media too. I mean, maybe they can help us. I mean, help us to get the word out that we really are. We're trying to amp up the partnership with the community, with the volunteer program, and we're going to have somebody, kind of a dedicated person, by the summer to help manage that and organize it. But getting the word out that we're serious about really wanting volunteers, consistent, reliable volunteers, to help in all kinds of ways. It could be after school, and I know a mom who's doing that right now, who has 3 children that she sits and reads with a couple times a week, and it's, you know, it's a beautiful thing. That's what the children need. And so I don't know if Madison Eagle and Mad Rap can help in that way, sort of getting that word out that we really want to And as budgets are tight, how important it is to have volunteers in that way. I'm going to pitch for the media tonight.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, like Ms. Graham said, I'm going to go over the sheets. I won't go over every single line. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop me. The first sheet we're going to look at is the executive summary. The total of our budget now, as Ms. Graham said, is based on a 5% raise and a 1% bonus. Our total budget now comes to just over $24,786,000. We have, as you can see, they have increased the sales tax. We have less state funds. We have less federal funds. That's ESSER funds running out, which we knew was going to happen. If we'll go over expenditures first. We have the Function 1000, which is instruction. You can see most of the increases are for personnel. Next slide, please. And so it's the 5% raise instead of the 7% raise. We have tried to, in this budget, provided money to pick up the 9.9, I say 10 in the notes, 10% increase. We have, you can see in the teacher line, we have, it's -3 FTEs. No one will lose their job, just there'll be no fills or a transfer to make that work. We do need another, we had been saying 50,000, but the bottom line number for our special ed students that we need services for comes to 79,951 with prep. That's our final number that we received from them. Go over to the next 1,000. We have just an increase of 662 in the textbook line, which is always the state funding plus our local match. So that line stays around that number, but it changes a little bit year to year. Our next function, 2,000, is administration, attendance, and health. And the increases in this function are all for personnel costs. The 5% increase. There was an adjustment that we talked about last time with the superintendent, a change in her contract. So some benefit shifted from the fringe line up to the salary line. So that's just a change that was a net change. We'll go to the 3,000 function, pupil transportation. Again, we have changes to the personnel lines and fringe benefits. We have an increase for 30, next slide, in 3,000. And you can go again. Yes, thank you. We do have an increase of gas, oil, and lubricants, just the price of gas and diesel for the buses. And you'll notice we do not include buses in this budget. They are included in the CIP budget. We're on schedule for 2 buses a year to keep our fleet at what it needs to be. Over to the 4,000 function, which is operations and maintenance. We have our personnel cost increase. We have an increase in our phone services for phone, increases in a phone line. We do have a decrease of $20,000 in grounds maintenance. In the past, we've tried to have some of our mulching work done by contract services. It just looks better. They do a better job. They have the equipment. We're going to be mulching ourselves this year. So we're going to take that on, a cut to make, to cover health insurance and other things.
Maybe somebody would like to volunteer and adopt a mulching bed, a mulching area.
Right.
There's another plug.
Adopt a school.
Adopt a school.
Next slide.
I do know other counties have their PTOs help out and find volunteers to do that as well.
Mhm.
Not trying to throw anybody under the bus on that one, obviously, but just, again, trying to find some solutions
Right.
with that.
That would be a good PTO project, yes. Thank you.
In some places, football teams do it.
Next slide, please, function 5,000. We have no change in the 5,000 function. The 6,000 function is a reduction of about 1.5 million. That's the school construction grant that was in the budget this year, but is not in the budget next year. The money this year is able to be carried over and given back to the schools, so we can spend that on the CIP money, on CIP projects next year. We anticipate having about 800,000 left this year, moving into next year toward our CIP budget. Moving into the next function, the 8,000 function, we have some increases there based on increased costs, personnel costs normal, and then increased costs in telecom and software. We do have a line down there which is just a net change. We have a ECF grant that Mr. Dotson secured for FY24, so that's great. Hopefully, if we can get that again. If not, it'll be a wash next year because we have this in the revenues and the expenditures. Next slide. This is our ESSER 3 set-aside funds. We have about 100,000 remaining in this grant that will run out in September 2024. Next slide. We have ESSER 3 money, which will also run out September 2024. We have put 6 individuals in this grant to keep them going for another year to help with the recovery of student learning loss. We also have a technology assistant, part of that salary in here because we went 1-to-1 and just needed the person. So we will be looking to put that person in the budget for FY24 just because we have to have someone with our technology needs now.
Because the equipment stayed the same.
Right.
And hasn't gone away and
Right,
won't go away.
and won't go away. And then next slide, in ESSER 3 in the 4,000 function, this is where we have our, the 8,100 says furniture and equipment, but these are big CIP projects in that we're doing. Then we have, next slide, just the revenues, and I won't go over all the revenues. You can see the cover sheet there. The total, again, just over 24,786,000. You can see the breakdown at the bottom. We are asking county revenues of 41.5%, our state revenues of 48.5%. Federal is still running up around 9% of our total budget, which next year it typically runs 4 or 5%. So that's going to go down next year because ESSER money will be gone. If you go to the last page for county funds, we have put on here the 84,843 was the number given on the sheet that Mr. Yao shared with us a week or two ago. And then we have also on there, if the state funding was not awarded, it was a supplemental appropriation of 590,000. So that may change depending on what the General Assembly does, but that was our understanding based on what we were told when we went down for our budget meeting. So any questions?
So when, if the state comes back and changes something, we re-vote on a revised budget? Is that how that works?
Yes, yes. Depending on how much what they change. I would look for that later spring, summer.
And then just to make sure I'm straight, all these numbers confusing my head. The total amount that this asked for from the county aligns with what the county presented to you all at in that early March meeting, 800 and something.
Right, it's based on the sheet that Mr. Yao gave us. We had asked for 1.1 million in the operating budget, and the capital plan that was approved by the CIP committee was, that was 735,000. So the ask was 1.8, and we received 735 for the CIP and 84,000 direct money, or whatever you want to call it, for our budget, and then a contingency plan of 590.
And that covers our 5% raise, what we have to match, right, with the 5% raise,
Correct. And the 1% bonus.
and the 1% bonus.
Correct.
And we absorbed the other health insurance cost
Correct.
Right.
from
It just-
attrition of 3 positions,
Correct.
and the $20,000 in mulch.
Right.
Correct.
And the increase in fuel.
And the increase in fuel.
utilities. And the increase in prep, because that has gone up.
Right. Increase in services plus new services,
Right.
which we don't
But,
have it.
Yeah,
they-
that is a
Students
no.
need their
I mean,
services. We
yeah,
have to
the
provide
special ed
that.
students have to have their services.
And
That's a
prep
law.
is a lot cheaper than hiring each
An employee.
individual for each county. And you've talked about that before.
Many times.
It's a good program.
It is a great program, and it saves small counties many dollars. Does anybody have any questions?
And we also have the food budget, food services budget in there. And that food services is run by Mrs. Patty Seal. She does a great job. It's self-sustaining. She's wonderful. So don't tell anybody. They might want her.
No. So I just have to say thank you. Like, I don't even know how to represent that in words, but we appreciate you for pulling this together. And wow, what a crazy budget year.
It was
Wow.
crazy. We got it on the 5th revision. We worked through some other revisions, but it was, it's a team effort. Ms. Graham is great to work with, and that's why we're here. So it's not a sunflower, it's numbers.
But the kids are sunflowers.
Yeah. But I think it's exciting. I like it, but
I do. Oh, gosh, what a crazy year. Board members, do you guys have any questions, comments? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I think I want to go eat like a whole gallon of ice cream or something.
Right.
It's depressing.
Tina needs to. Tina just needs to sleep.
Let's go see if we can get Tasty Freeze to open or something. Okay. Well, we have to approve a budget, whether we like it or not. It's one of our jobs, so if there's no more questions, comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Madison County School Budget as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
We have a motion. Need a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, you can move forward. Keep us posted on what everyone says, including the state.
Will do.
Okay, the next agenda item is a supplemental supplemental appropriation. It's a state grant, and it is requesting supplemental appropriation from the county in the amount of $13,030 to be added to fiscal year 23 budget in Fund 6, Function 4000. Do you have anything to add, Ms. Graham?
This was a grant that Drew Eanes got for us and had the folks come in so that there's digital maps of all of our buildings. And then he provided that, like it says on there, to the first responders. So that way, if there's, heaven forbid, something never happened, there's a way to show people what our building looks like on the inside as if you're walking through the building for first responders to be able to get to the area they need to get to.
Awesome.
And these are kept very secure, by the way. It's not for public.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve that or request that supplemental appropriation.
Let me repeat that? You need me to repeat it? Okay, thank you. I would like to move that we request from the county the amount of $13,030 to be added from a supplemental appropriation into the FY '23 budget in Fund 6, Function 4000.
We have a motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And your motion passes. The motion passes. Ooh, I'm running out of words. Okay, we are to reports. I think it's time to hear from a student again to uplift us. Mr. Reese, you want to go first?
I would love to. All right, cool, this is working. All right, first, I wanted to thank everybody for supporting basketball throughout their season. Boys basketball made it to the state quarterfinals, lost there, but they did a really good job throughout the year, and that was partially due to support from the community. So thank you to everyone who supported throughout the year. Can't think of any school events that we have coming up in terms of like community events. Doesn't mean there aren't any. I just can't think of any at the moment. Prom's coming up. That's April 22nd. Senior trip has been set. A lot of the Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens. So can't wait for that. That's going to be an awesome trip. A lot of the senior stuff is getting wrapped up. We just finished the T-shirt. We're going to start painting the rock on Friday. So just wrapping up the last year. Doing what we can to make it good. Make the end good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And good job broadcasting the games.
Yes.
And keeping the community
yes.
involved. Really good job.
And leading the halftime, half-court shots. You led that very well. I like how you did that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ms. Allen?
There's a lot going on right now.
Just a little bit.
A lot, yeah. And I think this is a great reminder of, we just went through the budget. And I think we need to slow down about who we're doing all this for. We're doing it for the employees, we're doing it for the children, and all the positive things that are going on in the school. First of all, I was able to attend the Beta Club induction on February the 19th, and it was held here. And it was just a wonderful reminder of what kids are willing to do when they get inspired to accomplish. And so we had juniors and seniors, because the seniors weren't able to participate in it last year. And so they were inducted into the Beta Club on February 19th. That was a very good ceremony. I thought it was done well.
Miss Allen, I think you should note that you were the keynote speaker, and she did an excellent job, and she made us all cry.
I left that out. I didn't mean to do all that, but, and I was just as nervous as I get sometimes up here, but thank you. And I did want to point out, to the Medford games, and I know, Michael, I'm going to call you Michael because I can't pronounce your last name, so I'm sorry. But the picture that we saw of the Medford games, I've been to for the last 2 weeks, I've been able to attend. And they were wonderfully done, and I just wanted to just let you guys know. I know that you know what the Medford games are for students with disabilities, and so it's wonderful to see our high school students working with them and helping them to be successful, and the joy that you see in their eyes is just an amazing thing to see. I think Charlie, we saw that in Charlie's eyes at one time, how excited he got when we went over to primary school. Yeah, I mean, it's just a wonderful thing to see. But the one thing that stood out to me that I know it matters to everybody up here, our kids are good kids. We had a young woman named Montana Dixon who played on the electric guitar the national anthem, and you could have heard a pin drop. She did it both times I was there, and I don't know, maybe you can tell me she might do it every time, but
I have only been to two. She did them both times there.
Yeah.
And she did an awesome job.
yeah, she did a great job, and I just wanted to do a little bit of a shout out to her. The other thing, as the children stood, they had their hands over their hearts, and I looked at them. Not a hat was on a head, and every child was standing there completely quiet. And I was trying to find, I said, are there any of our kids that are not doing it? And I'm very proud to say they all were. And 1 week was the middle school, and they did it. And the other one was the high school, and all of them that I could see were hand on heart and quiet as a mouse. So that was a great thing to see as well. And shout out to you. You were the announcer for those games too, Mr. Reese. And I think that's the couple of things that I wanted to highlight. Other than I wanted to say our teaching staff and Jeanette Alexander, all the people that were there that make that happen. It was the high point of the things I've seen recently, because it just felt good. Felt good walking in, felt good walking out. So, anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. Do you have anything, Mr. Marks?
I do. I have a lot to report. First and foremost, it was really, really cool. Busy month for us, and I get my family involved a little bit because Parker and I attended the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Praying Over the Fields event before the championship game, or the first quarter, which was not greatly attended by a lot of students for obvious reasons. They were filling out the stands, but it was a great event, and I got to be with a former colleague, with Mr. Brad Miller. I taught with at Culpeper High School many, many years ago, and what a tremendous man he is. And then from there, a testament to the students of Madison, to go to the last few games of the season and to see the student section packed, and I mean packed. And I think as Chris and I were walking through the curriculum fair a little while ago, which is another thing I just got to attend, talk to some teachers and see what was going on. There's no way we could have held that many kids back in the day in the 90s as far as MCHS goes. We would have had to rent a place out. But it was, and on top of that was, besides the national anthem and the respect and the amount of sportsmanship that was displayed and the unity of the student body was something that I don't think can be emphasized enough, that really showed like Madison strong overall, and that was extremely impressive. And it drew a lot to me, where it was almost reminiscent of when we were growing up and what it was like, where you just saw like one group of kids just hand together to support MCHS, and that was a beautiful thing. And the resilience that the boys played with, and no pressure at all, Reese. But my son is really hoping that baseball season has a Facebook Live broadcast, just to let you know. But you really enjoyed that. Also, I'll let Chris talk about the Parent Outreach Committee meeting, but I volunteered to be part of the Discipline Review Committee. And what's really great about that, that's going to be a very special group of people, besides obviously the administrators involved in that and the select amount of teachers, but the parents, the bus drivers, and the community members that came out to support that, to really take an interest in how we can not necessarily bring in extra things, but just change what we're already doing to help maybe change our test scores, get classroom management under better control, give the teachers and the administrators a little bit more, strength to control the classrooms and the schools a little bit easier. So their jobs are simpler is going to be a tremendous piece. And I think that means a lot. And then I'll let Chris talk about the other part. And otherwise, I'm looking forward to what the spring involves with the play coming up with Madison Explorers, even though my daughter's not involved in it. But it's a really great thing. But awesome job all around. It's been great.
Awesome. You want to go next? I'll go last.
All right, thank you. A couple things. Two things to report, but first, one just an idea, suggestion. Thinking about the budget and kind of making lemonade out of lemons, and maybe it's a real opportunity this late spring, early summer to have a volunteer organizational day or something. I mean, think about the resources. I mean, if we could bring together, the church groups and local veterans groups and businesses and teachers and all kinds of things to talk about opportunities from landscaping to, coaching volunteers. I was talking to Brian Daniels about coaching, CIS JV baseball volunteering and how awesome that is. What a great thing to have him out there and all those guys who volunteer for tutors and mentors in the classroom, the after-school program, citizenship training type stuff that, Colonel Davis talked about, and reality fairs and all that kind of volunteering. Maybe have some sort of meeting, organizational thing that draws everybody together, get our public affairs guy involved and all that stuff to sort of figure out how can we leverage all the great spirit of Madison to fill in some of the gaps after COVID and just make this a better place. So it's an idea. Maybe we could do that. And two things to report. Enjoyed the walkthrough with Mr. Coiner's primary school earlier this month, I think that was. Thank you. Primary school is a happy place. It's always so sweet. It's always a happy place to go, and it's part of just the age of the children, but also as a credit to your leadership and to the teachers and the staff and things in a real happy place. So thank you for that. Thank you for doing that. It's a great environment. And then last thing to report, just on our. I don't even know what it's kind of a long name. We got to think of a better name, like the DOIM thing. We got to think of a good acronym for it. But the Parental Engagement Community Partnership, whatever the group, had a good meeting, and
We need another acronym.
we need another acronym. And a good meeting. Three co-chairs, 2 co-parents, and a teacher, and it's going to be really good. Excited about it. First thing we're going to do is the next meeting we're going to do late this month. We're going to talk about all the kind of citizenship, character education stuff that we're currently doing. Each school is going to report. Just going to find out where we are and talk about what's going well, and then also talk about, hey, are things, can we adjust some things, including whether SEL is the right program, things like that. So that's some moving ahead on that, and Greg was there, I think, and I'm glad to join him doing that. And then last little thing is, I would like to ask, I think Colonel Davis' idea is good. I did talk to the Orange Junior ROTC Army folks a while back. They are open to it. They want to know kind of how much interest there is and stuff. So maybe the next time you send something out, I don't know if it's its own thing, the next time you send something out, maybe we could ask that question of how much interest there is. I think that's the key question that people are going to want to know. Is it talking about one student, or talking about 20 students who are interested? And it kind of falls in well to the CTE stuff, I think. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Sheets, do you have anything?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything to report for this meeting.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you too to Mr. Coiner. The budget is such a hard thing to do, and you get bogged down with it. But I spent the morning with kindergarten at the primary school, 90 minutes. I shouldn't say the morning. 90 minutes with kindergarten, and it's just if somebody doesn't is having a bad day, or wanting to know why we do what we do, just go play with kindergartners. Like, they will make you happy. And I also just want to point out that we have several high school kids and I would love to make this bigger. We have several high school kids that go over and really teach. They do. They're learning how to teach. They're learning from the teachers, but those kids are engaged with the small kids. It's the older kids with the younger kids, and they're not just, reading a book is one thing, but they are actually teaching those kids. And it was amazing to see the little kids are engaged, the big kids are amazing as well. And so I talked to Mr. Coiner about that for several minutes that I was there, and I would love to have, like, to just be able to do that more. Like, I don't know how to do that more. I don't know how to get it in the schedule more, but just having those older kids helping the younger kids, I think it's something. I think we're hitting the nail on the head, or however that saying is. But I think we're right there doing the right thing, and it benefits everybody. So anyway, I just enjoyed my morning. It made my day through all the minutia that we have to do, as educators and board members, and it made my week. So I just wanted to share that. Go hang out with kindergartners. That's why we need what we need and why we do what we do.
Thank you. Just kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying about the students that are going to the primary school. Next year at the high school, so they do that through their service learning class, but next year at the high school, they're also going to have the opportunity to take the Teachers for Tomorrow course, which is through Shenandoah University. So our kids that are interested in being teachers will be able to earn college credit through Shenandoah as they intern with not just the primary school, but up through middle school. So I just wanted to let you know that. You got calendar change invites from me. We're switching the March 23rd and the March 27th, the schools that you go to. So on March 23rd, you're going to report to the middle and high school. I'll let you know which one first for our walkthrough. And then April 27th, you'll report to Waverly. They were reversed, but those are the correct order now, so that we can have a special day on April 27th as one of your colleagues celebrates a big birthday in a school where she's had many birthdays. So that's why we'll be on the 27th of April.
That's awesome. So I do want to I think I emailed you.
You did, about the 23rd.
I'm not going to be, and colleagues, I am not going to be at the March 23rd walkthrough, not because I don't want to be, but I'm going to be at COSN. It's a Technology Leadership Conference, National Conference in Texas. So I will be flying home while you guys are hanging out at school, so I won't be there. I apologize, but I'll be at April 27th. I'll make a point to be there at April 27th.
Perfect. And then hopefully no problem. That'll be a fun, special day.
30th birthday there, 40th, 50th, 60th. If I can just walk in that building on my 70th.
That's awesome.
That is just what I want to do, so thank you.
Perfect. During the Senior of the Month presentation, I did say tonight, but I want to make sure it gets on your calendars. The Senior of the Month banquet will be on May 1st. That's a Monday night at 6 p.m. If you guys can attend, you'll really enjoy the ceremony. You'll get to see your seniors again, and then you'll get to hear them celebrate one of the staff members that's made a difference in their lives. So that's a great, great night, and I'll be meeting with the students soon, giving you guys your tickets and everything.
And the
you need.
seniors will make you cry.
They will. There will be tears. I think that's it, other than, again, another thank you to Tina, because she's one of those employees that just firmly believes that you do what you need to do because that's your job. Like, she says that a lot. You just do what you need to do because that's my job. But that's a big job when you're doing the budget, and the state is changing things constantly into work all day yesterday. Like, we're talking 9 to 5:30, like all day. She was there redoing this piece of budget for us. So I just want to tell her thank you again, because that is a very big deal.
Thank you.
And that is all.
April 10th. Our next board meeting is April 10th, correct? No. It's not on the calendar that way, I don't believe. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Liz is going to change that for us.
All right, Miss Liz is going to make us vote on that.
Oh,
Or we don't have to vote on it. We just announce it.
we'll just publish it.
You just publish it, yeah. It was already voted on. Okay, so it's April the 17th, not the second Monday night, because of spring break.
That's lovely.
All right, so April 17th. Thank you for asking, Mr. Mark.
I just want to clarify, because spring break was.
Yes, spring break always messes it up. which is good. We all need a spring break. All right. Anybody have anything else for the good of the order? Yes, sir. Mr. Reese has something.
Quick, I completely forgot to mention this. The Macho Man volleyball game